final lecture where we talk about the generic strategies. We'll look at the different ones of the 5 we've talked about and compare them a little bit about how one thinks about organizations or your own organization or developing a strategy in the context of various activities across the business and which strategies certainly make sense. Let's start with the idea of the different features of the strategies. Every time you choose a strategy, you're positioned differently in the market. Customers perceive the organization or the products and services offered by the organization in a different way. If you're a low-cost provider, people know that. They know that what you have is the best price. But they also know, perhaps, that you're not differentiated. Whereas if you're broad differentiation, they know your products have certain features and functions, and they look for those. And they don't necessarily think they're going to be the cheapest. And down the line, you have various parts or differences in the strategies. They talk about how the firm develops its identity, how it thinks about and outcompetes its rivals, how it's perceived by customers and by suppliers, all of those different areas. And it also creates sort of boundaries in how the organization positions itself and what it can do and what people expect of the organization. It creates different ways of meaning and thinking about strategy, different types of individual behaviors, different things that are valued in the organization, and it has a wide-ranging effect, essentially, on what an organization does. When you have a clear strategy and a clear way of thinking about approaching the market and how the market is approached, everyone in the organization really does start to act together. That's one of the reasons why you want to be careful not to mix and match, but to have an overarching, very clear perspective on which direction your strategy of the organization is going, and these generic strategies tend to be successful. Mixing them up tends to be less successful. Picking one of these, you can succeed at any of them. If you mix them up, you can create a problem. Here across the top of this matrix, you see the various strategies, and then down on the in the column, you start to see different ways of thinking about how this affects your organization. I won't go into this in detail. This is also available in the textbook, and you can kind of look at it and think through it. But as you analyze your cases and think about your business and do this exploration of what do we do in terms of developing a strategy and coming up with initiatives, then we can use this to help us think through that process. Like, for example, across the top, but just sort of the strategic target describes that you're going after a broad market in the low-cost provider, and the same thing in the broad differentiation, in a narrow market, in the focused ideas and that sort of thing, and how the basis for your competition. The third row down, you see that your product line, you generally have good basic products and low cost. You're not differentiating in some way, but you have basic products. But in broad differentiation, you have many products, but they have a lot of variations. They have different styles, different ways of catching people's eyes, so they're differentiated in some way with a feature and a function. And you have similar kinds of things in the narrow focused market, but only in that individual market as you go forward. The production focus is how you run your operation. If you notice, this is the fourth row here. In a low-cost provider, you're continually driving cost reduction. However, in a broad differentiation world, you're trying to identify new features. So there's a focus on dealing with the customer, understanding how the customer uses your product, R&D that develops new features and new technologies that will allow you to create some sort of a sense in the customer that what you have is differentiated or different than anyone else. In focus markets, again, you kind of repeat that, but in the specific, very narrow market that you're targeting. We use the lacrosse. We'll just go and say it's teenagers playing lacrosse. Middle school type and early high school kind of products for women's lacrosse. Maybe that's your target market. If you're in a low-cost focused market, low-cost provider, you're looking for ways to bring in other products from other marketplaces and reuse them, and you're trying to get all of the things that kids need. To do that, but at the same, to become good at lacrosse, but at the same time you're not really differentiating your product. Whereas if you're coming up with a brand maybe just for that marketplace, you try to get it, make it fashionable for the, the middle school and that sort of thing, and you try to get people wanting to buy your particular product in that market, and that would be a way that you do focus differentiation. And of course, later on when you're developing or if you're deciding for a best cost model, then you have appealing features, but you also manage your costs so that people get a good price. They want to have something unique and different and differentiated, but they don't necessarily want to pay the most. They want value, and that's when they purchase that. So you're focusing on different things in your operation, your business operation, with each step that you take. Same is true with marketing. Marketing messages should be consistent. That's another reason why you need a consistent strategy. If you're low price, low value, low price, low value, low price. That's the marketplace you have. You come here, you always have everyday low prices or whatever. However, if you're differentiated, you're targeting the features, right? You're talking about what it is that is so unique about your product. Why you buy your product, why the customer should buy your product rather than someone else's product. And then, of course, all the way over with best cost, you're talking about why this is the most valuable, why you're getting the best bang for your buck. This is as good as the best in the marketplace, but it's a better value because our price point is better. We don't have to pay for all the celebrity endorsements. We don't have to pay for that, but we still have the exact same features, and so therefore you should buy us. It's differentiated, but it's also valuable. You're not just paying for all the extra. There's different ways of maintaining this strategy. You continually, this is on the second page here, this is the second row. Maintain it with continuing to bring in new technology, continuing to manage costs. Innovation is important in broad differentiation, and it's the same is true in focused differentiation. You're doing a lot of balancing and looking at the latest features, imitating. If you're best cost, you're imitating a lot of the latest features that come out, but you don't want to spend too much on R&D because that raises your cost, and you want to make sure you stay at your best cost position. So you're doing a lot of imitating under that particular scenario. And your resources that you need are also different depending upon which strategy you choose, resources and capabilities. Managing your cost efficiently and being effective and continuous improvement and all of that, it's generally really a focus of most businesses and should be, but is the primary strategic focus of low-cost providers, both broadly and focused. Whereas developing new features, new capabilities, innovation, R&D, quality, design, creativity, those are qualifications or capabilities that are necessary for broad differentiation and focused differentiation. In other words, you're going to be hiring top designers, your best technology people, maybe some really creative people that are expensive. They drive up your cost, but at the same time, they allow you to have something that's really unique. And you spend money and you put the latest in, like Apple's Sapphire screens is a classic example of differentiating, but also clearly not being low cost. And then in the best cost provider, you have to balance both of those. So what that means is that you spend on innovation, you spend a lot of time imitating the features and coming up with new ways to be unique, having some of your own unique features, but not necessarily spending like crazy on developing features that never get used, because you also have to be very cost effective. So you want to have differentiated features that are perceived to improve quality and offer those at a reasonable price. So you're always, that's why you're kind of caught in the middle. You're always kind of moving between these two worlds. So whenever you think about it, you're talking now about what you think your strategy should be, and we've talked through those things, but an important thing to keep in mind is that you also have to be able to deliver. I would like to win the New York Marathon, but I don't have the capabilities nor resources to do that. So I can't develop a strategy that I do not have the resources and capabilities internal to myself to deliver. So that's why we do the external view and we do the internal capabilities analysis. So not only when you develop your strategy do you say to yourself, gee, we want to be the best at cost control, but I don't have an operation that's already cost effective that I can improve. I have to start from scratch and build that. That's okay, but that's a longer term strategy. Or if I'm a low-cost company like Walmart, I can't decide I want to be an innovator because I do not have the creative staff, I do not have the culture of innovation, all of those sorts of things. So you have to look inside yourself and balance what capabilities and resources you have with the strategic possibilities that exist. And then you actually choose which of these 5 strategies you want to approach based upon not only the opportunities in the marketplace, but also what your organization, with its resources and capabilities that it has, can build or can attain, and how best you can address those to be either in one of those 6 strategies. You have to balance the two, develop your initiatives to build and utilize the capabilities and resources to either differentiate or to become low cost or to become best value or to focus or to be broad. All of those things, you bring this all together, remembering the social complexity, the causal ambiguity, and why this is such a difficult thing to do, and why people that are good at strategic development are high-priced consultants or senior people, senior managers in large American businesses, and do extremely well and are extremely valued in the employment market, because this is a difficult problem and it has tremendous payoff when it's done well. That's the 5 generic strategies module. The next discussion will be around the financial analysis that helps to give you some more details about this, and then we'll have some additional modules going forward. I hope this was helpful, and we'll see you at the next